I also fell there.
I thought I stepped on you. Just sneaking.
Ooh.
Got it. Are you already filming?
You look
Yeah, I
good.
started.
I knew it.
Yep.
Thank you.
Wait. You like lower, like you undo a couple buttons.
That's sensitive ticklish there. Nina, I hope you keep working.
Great chest hair. Make sure they know it.
Do like a key or an ear or something.
What do you do?
I'm a instructional designer, training specialist, designing software training videos for a electrical supply distributor. It's a mouthful. I've only been doing it for almost 6 months, so it feels weird to say that that's what I'm doing, because I feel like I can't.
Do you expect your contract to be renewed? I don't know if we ever talked about that.
I mean, people keep giving me projects. Actually, now I don't have any, but I'm about to start one. I haven't started it yet, but June 15th or 16th is when I'm supposed to find out.
Yeah.
They might just they might not even discuss it. They might just be like, oh yeah, we are happy we're keeping you on,
Yeah.
or something.
Do you remember the conversation we had with Kieran about the differences you felt working as a team that felt so good compared to the stifling nature of being a teacher and how rewarding it felt? Do you remember that story? I've been drinking a lot.
That's okay. Was it from the last discussion we
Yeah,
had?
it was the last book talk, and you had talked about just how good it felt to be working that job and to be a part of a team and to have what you're working on be rewarded.
Oh yeah. So that was when someone in the company, we were doing a big, like a training roadmap meeting with all the departments together to say like where everything is as far as like rolling out new things or rolling out new programs. And I had just finished a quick video to talk about a new service that we're offering, which basically it gives you like stats on your Google search,
Yeah.
like how many clicks is this profit center getting. They're called profit centers and not stores. They're called sales registers, not receipts. They're called credit memos, not refunds. Like it's a whole language. And I'm not an instructional designer there. I'm a training specialist. So. Anyway, I made this video, and it went quick. Like normally the process of developing a video takes a couple weeks at least. But I got this one finished, recorded, programmed. I recorded my voice on it in 3 days. Like it was a very fast process. And the product owner just gave a shout out on the quality of the video in the meeting. Didn't say Aaron did a good job. He said Sarah's team did a good job, which I still felt good. Like it was heartwarming. However, if that had happened in a teaching environment where it is so personal, like it's your classroom, it's your students, it's your lesson, it's your results, it's your test results. Even the things that the students make, they were your ideas, and you got them to do it. It's very independent, or at least that's how I felt at Harmony School of Innovation, where everybody was sort of evaluated on the work that they individually were doing.
Okay. Rather than the overall results.
The only departments that I remember that were really like good about really collaborating and utilizing each other as a team were the social studies department.
Yeah.
Like I always felt like they, and rightfully so, they kind of have to be vertically aligned.
Yeah.
English, math, we were just like, leave the fuck alone and I'll get it done. At least that's how I felt. I hated it when I had to work with somebody. It was harder, I think, to do that.
Yeah.
To be alone.
Can you talk a little bit about what you did with WGU to get your instructional design degree before going into the job you have now?
Yeah. I remember we were doing a practice STAR test, and I knew I wasn't going to come back, but I didn't have any plans. so I was pretending to write. I was modeling a behavior to the class that because they were all kind of starting to get finished. They were all kind of working, like one person was still testing or whatever, and so it was like, in my journal, I'm just going to put post-it notes on ideas. What can I do instead of teaching? I wrote like paralegal. I wrote a bunch of different things. And the only thing that really made sense that went with what I had spent the last 7 years doing was instructional design. And so I started researching different degree programs. And one of them was Purdue, and they called me, and it was like $40,000 a year to go there to do an online program with them. And then WGU, they were way more affordable, and it was entirely online. I got any test that I did was monitored through a webcam, and I cranked it out in 9 months like a baby. And I gave birth to a master's degree. I don't am a master degree holder. I just feel like it was a really intense certification that I worked for.
I know it's kind of difficult in the climate right now, but like, do you see yourself doing something like this 10 years from now? Like, is this a platform that you want to take into doing something different in the future, like in a management role, like a decade from now? What do you see your life as, working wise, personally, etc.?
I think, I don't know, like right now everything just feels very nebulous and not serious or real, or like especially the work that I'm doing right now, it all just feels like I'm tossing it into a vacuum chamber. I don't really get a lot of like tangible feedback from users that have taken the course that I've made. Whereas with teaching, it's like you structure your life in 9 weeks, and then you have a summer, and you're kind of like always planning and always saying, well, 9 weeks from now, this is where we're going to be, or for next year, I really want to do this. And that's kind of, and I kept saying this to people, but like last August was the first time I had not had a first day of school since kindergarten, since 1995.
Oh, wow.
And now it just feels like it doesn't matter, and so I can't picture myself at CED for 10 years. Like, it doesn't seem like that's even, like, I feel like the world's gonna end or something, or like everyone's gonna have there's gonna only be 2 jobs that you can have in the world. It's gonna be like manufacturing or law enforcement, and like that's it. And that's just how we're gonna be. Ideally, I'd like to continue designing instruction, but maybe for like children's educational software. I was really inspired by like the computer games that I played as a kid that were strictly educational, and how far ahead I got of people in school because I did those. So that's where I'd like to be, something more fulfilling, but I'm very fulfilled by money right now.
It's interesting that we can sometimes imagine the end of the world being an easier thing to picture than what our lives will look like.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, and I think that has to do with, I know for me, I have a lot of blind spots where I just ignore the things that I can't do well, or what's difficult for me. So that'll transition to the next point, which is like, what would you say is most difficult for you right now, being the age that you are, having the skill set that you have? Like, what day by day is difficult for you, either personally or professionally?
I don't feel like, this is gonna sound really shitty, but like, I'm not coming across a lot of difficulties, like, right now. 6 months ago, I was working at a bar, making $3 an hour and then a tip share. Like, I was having to hustle. and that was only for a short amount of time. So that was I guess last year, and that was difficult. Like feeling like I flooded the store one time because I forgot the hose was going, filling up the mop bucket, and we didn't leave until like 12:30 in the morning on a day where we closed at 11 because I was having to clean up and I felt so bad, and I cried because I was like, I'm a grown man, I have a master's degree, and I can't do simple things like this. Like I'm making stupid, simple mistakes that a high school kid would do working at Chick-fil-A, a homeschool kid working at Chick-fil-A. And so that was hard. I think right now I'm having a really hard time with sticking to programs, and like I've been on a fitness journey since 2008, and the results have not been happening because I don't stick to them. And so, I don't know, that's kind of a hard question. I don't know about difficulties, but I guess just sticking to things that I say that I want to do.
Yeah, I mean, it is because, well, right now there's a particularly heated climate about identity politics, and so it's easier, I think, as white males to have sort of a safety net where we can make mistakes and it's generally accepted just because we have like college degrees, we have sort of this thing that we can rest on. So I can understand how it can be hard to have a blind spot when it comes to what we do incorrectly, quote unquote. Like that's on the other hand, I think we're at a certain age where like permanent, we don't really consider anything in our lives that is a shortcoming permanent. So it's just kind of figuring out what in our lives is a shortcoming right now. It sounds like what you're talking about is like street smarts versus book smarts, where you have an incredible amount of education, but it didn't help in this one moment when the hose went out and there was just a particular set of skills that you needed that could have been easy to acquire, but at some point we just missed it. Is that something that you feel a lot in life?
I don't know. I mean, with that particular example, I work at a bar, and so we're kind of constantly drinking, and I probably was just like being a little tipsy and just forgot about it. This video is like, you're a really shitty person, Aaron. Last year was incredibly hard for me, and so I think now that I'm not there, it feels like the difficult part of my life, of my adulthood, was last year when I was unhappy almost every day, where I was having panic attacks every morning and crying at 3 in the morning and like feeling like I was gonna throw up, and about the idea of having to face another day in this job that I was no longer in love with. And that felt so insurmountable. Like the idea of having a month to go wasn't exciting, it was horrifying. Like I still have this much more to do. And so not having those feelings, like I haven't had like a work-related panic attack and since then, honestly. The last panic attack I had was because I got attacked by a bird and I couldn't go outside, and we've been stuck inside for all this time because every bird noise that was happening, I was like, this is it, I'm gonna get attacked again, and I couldn't predict it. So like, I'm a very fragile person.
How's your family? I know that's not really the best non sequitur, but I feel like you're the most unfragile member of your family, actually, compared to your sibling, your mom, and even your dad a little bit, which is sort of interesting.
Yeah. My parents are divorced and remarried to two new people. Like they're each married. You get it. My mom has rheumatoid arthritis, and that kind of like hinders her ability to do a lot of things that she was able to do before. And so I feel like I'm kind of approaching that caretaker moment, and she's not 60 years old yet. She's also just has this like really intense personality of just like confrontational. It's like she watched Erin Brockovich every night before she went to bed, and now she wants to be that like tough person for no reason. Like there's no reason to get confrontational.
Is she solving crimes? Is she?
She feels like she's trying to find meaning in her life right now, and that's kind of like going on Facebook and just getting into arguments with people. And we're on this. We align the same way politically, and I hate talking to her about politics because it's just like if your favorite color was blue and someone else's favorite color is blue, and they're yelling at you about how great the color blue is, and I'm like, I don't need this. Like this, we agree. We don't need to get each other riled up about this. And she's addicted to the news. In the same kind of cliche way that you hear about people who watch Fox News and listen to Rush Limbaugh are addicted to their news, and so she's just very wrapped up in that. And she's married to an abusive person, verbally abusive, bipolar, who works at a cement pouring plant, concrete plant. So there's just a lot of like, my life is not amounting to anything that I'm really getting secondhand from them. My childhood home is like a mess. My bedroom is ripped up. Like it doesn't even look like there's not even like a fraction of memory there. And my dad and my stepmom, they're both flight attendants for American Airlines, and I feel like my stepmom's the best person in this picture.
By association.
I admire her a lot. She's an incredible cook, and I'm getting really into cooking, and so she's been like enabling that excitement for me. And my dad is an alcoholic recovering, and has like, he's depressed, and just has these very like, it's hard because he was like Robin Williams whenever I was a kid, like very animated, dynamic, lots of funny voices and making us laugh, but then he had this kind of unexpected temper, and it was always just like really scary sometimes. And my dad and my brother they've actually spoken to each other a couple of times, but my brother got married, I guess, 2 years ago, and he didn't support the marriage. He's straight, and like it was one of those things, like I always expected like me to be the one to get ostracized for romance or romantic love or whatever, and who I was in love with, who I was gonna get married to. And no, it was my straight run-of-the-mill brother who like got cut off basically.
Was
from
it
my
because
dad.
he wasn't financially secure? Was that the issue? That was, I forget what the reason for that animosity was.
There was a lot of excuses for. It was because my brother lied about graduating from college whenever he walked the stage. I don't know how he was able to do that without having all of his credits, but he did, and then had this. It was very theatrical, like you were a college graduate, and then he didn't actually have a diploma, and that was a big point of contention with them. And then money, like you should be able to. My dad always says like, you should be making as much money as it would be for one of you not to have to work for an indefinite amount of time. In case one of you gets sick or can't work, like you should be able to pay for the two of you. And like that's not. I don't see that in my life yet. Like, I don't think either of us could do that. It's just not the way it works. But they can, because they've kind of benefited from the generation that they're in, and they just have. So lots of conflict. I don't have like a really good sense of family with my actual family.
Yeah, it sounds like the history of your family's kind of been, I wouldn't say rewritten, but certainly like pummeled. Just your brother went to marry someone else and got ostracized for it. Your stepdad, or your dad, excuse me, seems to have moved on with your stepmother, and then your mother seems to have rejected the past in favor of something she wants now but can't get. And damn.
Yeah. It's not fun. My New Year's resolution this year was to call my mom and my dad at least once a week, and I've failed. I was doing it though. I think the COVID-19 lockdown like kind of disrupted that, because I would do it on my drives home, because they were already kind of long, and I could have that blocked off time where I'm not doing anything except driving to just catch up with them. But now I'm like, I don't want to call you because I'm too involved with what my life is right now. Whatever.
So, like, the next question before we go to the global ones, because I'm skipping the satisfactions and dissatisfactions because I think we covered that. But I guess it's the weirdness, or just the the craziness right now of the 24-hour news cycle. So it was designed to be the news that's going on right now, to kind of, in retrospect, see whether it was big or small news. And so you can talk about either the COVID-19 stuff, or you can talk about the George Floyd protests if you want to, or if there's something else on your mind. But those two seem to be the biggest things right now. Did you want to talk about like your thoughts before, during, and after one of those two?
I remember. I'll talk about George Floyd's impact right now. I remember the unrest in Ferguson really hitting me, because I think for me that was like the most like on the forefront of everything. Like, everybody was aware of it. You were seeing riots happening, and we were seeing looting happening, and I was really struck by it because I was thinking about my students. I think Ferguson unrest happened during the summer, so I wasn't in school, but I could be wrong. It could have happened in the school year. And I was thinking about like all of my black students, of how often they were disciplined for doing the same things that white students were doing. Usually black male and black female, you would always hear those names in the teacher's lounge, like, oh, this person did that today, or this person was suspended, this person was expelled. It was usually a student of color that would always get those sorts of like discussions. It was kind of hard to not hear them after the Ferguson unrest started. And I'm observing the current protesting that's happening, and I'm just sort of blown away by how hard it is for certain people to just feel like Black Lives Matter, or like to admit to the world that Black Lives Matter, or to themselves that Black Lives Matter. Like how difficult it is for people to say that, and how at the same time I've actually been really feeling empowered to say it, and I have not really been on social media, and I don't really use it that often. I don't make stories on Instagram or anything, and so when the initial, I think it was June 1st, like when we were really kicking off the national protesting happening all at once, I was really mad. I was furious, and it's really eye-opening to see how businesses are addressing this. Local businesses like that aren't saying anything, it's just wild how difficult it is for people just to say Black Lives Matter, and I love Black people, and I will do anything I can to help ensure that they are given equal treatment, just like everyone else gets to jog in their neighborhoods or stay up late with their nephew in their own home, or kick back and eat some ice cream after a long day and not be fucking murdered. Like it's, I don't, and so yeah, it's been tumultuous, and I've gotten in a single Facebook argument because I don't want to do that to myself, because it's just, there's not, if they're not coming to sit with you at the table, they're not going to come sit with you at the table. If they're just not, you're not going to change their minds.
There's
But-
clearly a systemic issue with law enforcement resolving conflicts among civilians. Is there a particular idea for you that would be a step in the right direction for what needs to happen in the future in regards to law enforcement? Do you have, I guess the Black Lives Matter movement is trying to talk about equality with civilians, I guess, or equality with citizens of the United States. Is there something particular that you would like to see? Think something to be different?
So it's really hard to have a solution that you can just write on a piece of paper, have the governor sign it, and then this is going to change everything, because I don't think it will, because it is police, but it's also teachers, it's restaurant workers. Discrimination exists everywhere.
It's far wider.
It's just it just so happens that police have the tools necessary to kill somebody when those feelings bubble over, and not make a snide comment or give you DPS points to a kid. Like, police have weapons, and they have they're built heavier, and they're kind of equipped to use deadly force, and when that is necessary to them. So I don't know. There's talks of defunding the police. I don't know what that means. I don't know, so I'm not educated enough or informed enough to talk about that. But it seems to me that a lot of why people become police officers, what makes someone want to be a law enforcement person, and I feel like it stems from, I was powerless whenever I was growing up. I was bullied, and I want to be the person that now has power and now can do something about something whenever I'm in that position again as an adult, or I'm going to show them who they were messing with this whole time. Just, I feel like there needs to be psychiatric evaluations that are thorough for anybody becoming a police officer, and continuous checkups on that. Mental health appointments for police, because I feel like you're in a pressure cooker for a lot of that job. Every traffic stop, every dispatch is, from what I understand, it's a risk. Like, you're risking your life to do that, because you can't predict people. And so I'm not empathizing with police, and that's why you see people being thrown to the ground, and knees planted on people's necks. But I mean, I feel like I couldn't do that job. It would be really traumatizing to have to be in that all the time. So I don't know, but I feel like we're not you don't hear a lot of stories about teachers killing students that they don't like. But yeah.
Last two questions. So 2010 to 2020, what did you think as a whole? and you can go anywhere with this. Like, you can talk about music, you can talk about movies. Like, what was that decade like for you? Sort of in the middle of college, do you know?
A lot of kind of like landmark things happened, I guess, in my life. My grandfather died, a very important person to me. I broke up with my first major relationship of 5 years. Shortly after that, I graduated from college. I had to be hospitalized for a period of time because of anxiety and depression. And I worked for 7 years as a teacher, met the love of my life, and then did a career change. Like, there was just a lot of those, like, I can see those events in that decade. It's hard for me to like say like 2010 to 2020 was awesome. Like, but I mean, it was very like developmental, lots of growth happening.
I remember when you and Dow were getting serious, you had mentioned at school that school didn't feel the same, just in the sense that, I don't know why this was, either you felt like you had a lot more confidence in yourself to realize that a lot of the things that happened at school weren't okay, or you got a lot of emotional satisfaction at home that was better than the emotional satisfaction that you got at school, and that seemed to dictate a lot of your career change. Would you say that that's true?
Yeah. Before meeting Dow, my routine was very much just work and then sleep, and there wasn't a lot of like, I wouldn't say there was nothing to look forward to coming home, but it was like, now there was something to look forward to go, like to leave school and not work late, or work all the time at home and grade at home all the time and lesson plan as long as I needed to. And now my time was being better spent with people, with a person that I loved and I still love. And I think that's what you're asking. Yeah. Meeting Dow didn't make me quit teaching, but it was like, come on, like, this sucks. This every day just sucks. Like, it just isn't fun anymore. I'm not feeling creative. I'm not being rewarded for being creative. I'm not being encouraged to be creative. And it was just the definition of burnout. I won Teacher of the Year. That was a big thing that happened. I think that was mainly what
The
really,
entire state of Texas, I believe, correct?
for Harmony schools. It's like I was the best McDonald's manager at the McDonald's. But the year following is the year that I quit, and so it was like I've reached the highest point that I can at this school. Do I want to go to a different school and have to relearn all of that code again? And like, no, I don't, and I don't want to stay here either. So I'm not gonna keep doing it.
Other things you want to talk about for 2010, 2020? So.
No.
2020, 2030. This is, I mean, when I came up with this idea in January, I had no idea that I had so little awareness of when we would be doing this, just quite what 2020 to 2030, like what making a prediction would be like. It's kind of like shooting a shotgun in space, but like, what can you make some predictions about? Maybe yourself, or maybe about, cause I guess we already talked about that, but maybe something larger, like politics, economics.
I'm afraid of 4 more years with the current president. I feel like there's a huge momentum for there to be change. I think that if we do have 4 more years, it's going to look really, really ugly, considering the discussions that we're having right now. Like, it would feel horribly wrong. It would feel really, really sick. I would feel sick if it happened. I'm hoping that it doesn't happen. I think climate change is going to really have to pilot a lot of what we decide to do, infrastructure-wise, economically. It's just going to have to be there. It's going to have to be the first thing that we talk about when it comes to any kinds of developing anything. It has to. I think trans people will see a lot of progress in making their lives fit with the rest of our lives as they should. I think that all bathrooms should just be gender neutral bathrooms. Yeah, the taps and caps bathrooms are a single person each, but we still have to put a man and woman on them. Like, no one else is going in the room. There's a lock on it. Who cares? One has a urinal, the other one doesn't. I think education is going to change quite a bit. I think we're going to see a lot more like distance learning. So I picked a good job to jump on because I feel like it's just going to be there. I think Black people are going to have. I think this needs to be their time to just really take over. Every major office and position headed by a Black person or a person of color, and just like really just. I think it just needs to happen. And it won't even be like. That won't be the conversation. Like, first, Black Secretary of Energy or something. Like, it's just gonna be. It's gonna be great. I think that's gonna be great if we can keep the conversation the way it is right now, and keep people talking about it, and keep making people uncomfortable, and saying, "Well, fuck you, you're uncomfortable. Get over it." I can't think of anything else. I feel like this is The Simpsons, where I'm like predicting things that may come true. They predicted Donald Trump would be president like way before he was even considering running for president.
Yeah, incumbents typically win, unless there's a global pandemic. So.
I think. I think I have a lot of hope for this decade.